to WW7ATS Whiskey Uniform 7 November. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society net will start at the top of the hour. WW7ATS. Good evening. It's 8 p.m. Pacific time. Time for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. My name is James. My call is WU7N. Control tonight for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. This net meets on this repeater for audio channel for about 1 hour starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Anyone with an amateur radio license is welcome to participate. You can either check in to say hello or join us for the entire net and join the conversation. If you're a visitor, let me know which one you'd like to be. Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio operators who take to the airways with fast scan, NTSC, analog video. You can find more information about us on the ever helpful internet by searching on the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. You can see the video we're talking about by looking at the WW7ATS website. Click on streaming. There's sometimes a significant delay without output. The output can also be viewed directly on YouTube, but please understand we can't monitor and respond to all comments real time due to the delay. The video is also transmitted on 1.2 gigahertz on the east side here in Bellevue. So let's see who has joined us. I'm having a little bit of slowness in getting a digital channel going. So on the audio channel here, I'm going to call a roll call and see who we got tonight. Ron, KD7QKU, are you there?
KD7QKU.
Bob, K9PQ, are you with us tonight? K7ITX, are you with us tonight?
ITX.
ITL, are you with us tonight? N7KC up there in Port Angeles, are you with us tonight? Mountain Covington, N7QO, are you with us tonight?
N7QO.
Who else would like to join the Western Washington Amateur Television Society tonight? It looks like there'll be 4 of us tonight. Thank you very much for your participation and joining us. Let's go to the top. Ron, KD7QKU, take it away.
James, good evening everyone. KD7QKU's over here in Tacoma tonight. I was just sitting here looking at e-bikes, 20-inch electric bikes. I think it might be fun to have one. I sold my telescope, so now I either buy digital radio equipment or an e-bike. And not much has been said about digital radio, so I'm looking at e-bikes tonight. So anyway, it was a nice cool day. I think it finally got up to 73 degrees, and the sun came out a little bit afternoon. Couldn't ask for a better day. What did we do? Well, I got gas in the car, went to the store and bought cat litter. We dumped the cat litter today and washed her box out. It had been quite a while. We've been using the clumping litter, but I guess after a while you need to dump it out and start over again, so we did that today. So the cat should be happy. I think it was beginning to smell a little bit. We never have a litter box that has smelled, but I thought the last couple of days I could smell it a little bit. So anyway, that's it over here in Tacoma. Back to net, KD7QKU.
87QKU. Thank you very much for that. Well, next on the list, Richard, K7ITX. Thanks for joining us tonight. Take that mic.
Well, thank you, James, for being that control host. Guest net control host, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, Ron, that's, it's funny. Sometimes you and I are doing exactly the same thing, and that would be, I exactly looked at e-bikes and or e-scooters. I can't get around as fast as I used to, and particularly when I'm at a car race event, sports car event. I'm used to getting around a lot, getting up next to the competition, or maybe some of our friendly racers will be way over the other, quarter of a mile away, and I had no problem, jogging over to see them. And then, of course, from our paddock area to the pitch or the track itself has all been a little bit difficult lately. You do see a lot of people with e-bikes and e-scooters at these events, and it sure makes sense that I would have one to, take care of that sort of thing. Other than that, I've just been totally immersed since I saw and talked to you guys Wednesday night. I fired up my new Oculus device. I bought one of those on Wednesday, and I didn't really have it running. Didn't know how to even start it until later Wednesday night, and then I proceeded to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Been exploring with it ever since. I will say this. It's the most fantastic thing that I think I've bought in quite a long time. I can honestly tell you, I have a pretty damn good idea of what it's like to be in the space station ISS. There is huge amounts of video inside the ISS and outside spacewalking the ISS. And all of that is in glorious 360 immersive content. I don't even want to call it video because that isn't what it feels like. It really feels like you are there. Especially when you do it standing up. When you're standing up, you're up close and personal with the astronauts. I mean, literally, you're within inches of their bodies and faces at times. It's just staggering realistic. There you go. It's just like that. But, I mean, it's just crazy. Or you might want to look around. You might want to just look around at all the gadgets and all the business, or down different corridors and hall. You don't have to be looking at the astronauts. Position to explore. I mean, I just can't. I never imagined what a mess of things they have inside. There's barely enough room for them to really roam around. out, and then one of their big problems is whatever you do, if you kick something, turn around and see what you kicked, and whatever you kicked, fix it, or forever hold your peace to some extent. Another thing, I think that I also learned is they really are in a state of readiness of imminent disaster at all times. That is the first thing when they dock and climb out of their space capsule and climb into the space station, they're immediately briefed on all the emergency procedures, where everything is. Now, they've trained for this, so they already know a lot of these things, but the captain of the ship immediately gives them a punch list, so to speak, to take to bed with them, and read this before you go to bed, so that if an alarm goes off, you know exactly what the procedures are. But they don't leave anything to chance up there, for sure. Going out in their spacesuits, out in deep, outside of the space station, it's just, I don't know, I never realized, you know it's big, but until you are next to it, life-size, and you're life-size, you just can't imagine how complicated, all the cables and the plumbing, and the wires, everything on the outside. I thought there's a lot of junk inside, but there's so much paraphernalia outside. It's just a spider web outside. It really is. I've done this several times now. I mean, because you can't watch it once because you miss 300 degrees of it. When you watch it just one. The cupola, that's where they like to go and look out into space, look at the stars, or Earth. Earth is just, of course, it's the big blue marble that's just, takes up all their time and looks. One of the astronauts, though, in a view from outside the ship floating around, he said, that this must be what people in heaven see when they're looking down. And I have to agree. It's the most beautiful thing I think I've seen in a really long time. And so, anyway, I'll pass it on. I really like to comment when it's my turn again on the Northrop T-38 trainer. That's pretty wicked jet fighter, or supersonic jet the astronauts train in. That's unbelievable. T-38. I believe I got that right. K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX, this is WW7N. Sounds incredible. Let's go next to Jim, N7QO out in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Jim. Good evening, gentlemen. Well, Ron, e-bike. I know that I've seen a couple at Costco. As I was leaving, someone was returning one. I'm not really sure why. It looked like it was about a 20-incher. So it would be worth checking there before you spring the money to buy anything. And Dick, yeah, I think it would be pretty essential for some of what I imagine you are doing. I think that might be wise and safe on a like a closed area, but I don't know if I'd take them on roads. I I know, I don't remember the name of the television show, but Simon Cowell got an e-bike, and I think he hurt himself not too well. I think he hurt himself badly on the darn thing, and he kind of joked afterward, well, it would help to read the instruction manual before you take off with it, but nevertheless, I'd like to point out that Mr. Cowell is younger than we are, and we can definitely hurt ourselves on those things, so be careful, gentlemen. But yeah, they're pretty cool. And Dick, the Oculus, yeah, sounds like Christmas in July. A few months ago, I think it was this year, maybe earlier this year, there was a program going on at the Tacoma Armory where they gave you virtual reality headsets and you just walked around, and it was essentially a tour of the International Space Station. My wife and I did that. For me, I don't know. I was kind of dizzy every time I was walking around. But if you're just sitting there, I could see how that would be okay. But yeah, Dick, I could see how if you put your head in a different position or something, you could maybe lose your balance even. So you got to watch out for that. But it was kind of impressive, but it was kind of I don't know, unstable for me anyway. But then maybe I'm unstable in general. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. Back to you, Jim, N7QO.
Hello, this is WW7N Net Control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Since we have a smaller number of participants tonight, I'll call several times for visitors tonight. Do we have anybody who'd like to check in and check out, see if that new antenna works? This is the place to do it. Or if you want to join our conversation, visitors, please come now. Hey, nothing heard. All right, well, my name is James, W7N. A bike or ham gear? Ron, that's a tough decision. I don't know which one I would go with there. I saw a guy on an electric, sort of like a skateboard looking thing, zipping down the hill, and apparently it had like supersized tires compared to a normal skateboard, and he was at the top of the hill, and I just waved, and he stopped, and he thought I was waving him down. I said, no, I was just waving, but that sure is a cool skateboard. And he goes, yeah, and I said, and he told me it charges on the way down the hill because gravity is pulling him down the hill, so all the little motors turn into little generators or alternators or something, and they charge the batteries up. And then so when he's going up the next hill, it's sucking the juice out of the batteries. I thought that was a very clever design. But let's see. And Richard, I think you have the new third choice, the Oculus headset. Now we can all dream about, because that does sound fantastic. And it's amazing to hear you describe it. We want to hear more about it. Be a virtual astronaut, and I bet you there's places on the space station though you can't look into. I'm just guessing. But I do recall reading some reports. I mean, I was still working back then in the aerospace industry, and it was interesting. As much as it is a technical accomplishment and it's very technical, there's been all kinds of social studies done on astronauts that have been up there. I mean, obviously all kinds of things happen to them physically, but one interesting point in the space station was, I think there was only Russians up there and maybe one American or something, as I recall, because he said, even though he had some command of the Russian language, he said it was very, very isolating because obviously, they were all busy because they were shorthanded, and they, didn't have anybody coming or going for some reason for a while. They don't remember what that reason was. Maybe it was the space shuttle disaster. But they apparently were having problems getting people coming and going, so he didn't really speak Russian like we're speaking English right now, and he said it was just terribly, terribly isolating. up there. So that was something I'd never considered before. Well, let's wrap it around back to the top. Ron, KD7QKU, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'm interested to hear the rest of Richard's comments. It sounded pretty good. Darren, I don't know. I guess I'd rather have a bike than a scooter, I think, so I could sit down. It depends how far you want to go. There's lots of scooters around here for rent. I never have rented one. I don't know how much they rent for. I guess you use your cell phone or credit card. I don't know how you rent them really. I'll have to ask somebody, I guess. None of them have seats. You stand up on the ones that are on there. They do have a basket on the back or front. On the front, I guess. And I've actually seen a kid riding one with another kid sitting in the basket. So the basket must be pretty strong. I don't know about the brakes on them. Some of these bikes that I'm looking at, they're 500 watt, 750 or 1,000, and the batteries range from 10 amp hours to 12, 15, and maybe more. Of course, as everything gets bigger, the price goes up. They have racks on the back. Some of them have hydraulic brakes, and the cheaper ones have cable brakes. I think hydraulic would be nice. And some of the cheap ones don't have any shock absorbers on the front fork or anything, and people complain that after they ride them for a while, like all bicycles, your hands start to get numb. So I think the shock absorber on the front fork would be nice. So I don't know. Anyway, that's just what's on my mind right now. So back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU, Ron, well, it sounds like a decision to do a lot of research, and I wonder if there's someplace you could try one out. Richard, K7ITX, go ahead.
I think I'm looking for the bargain basement e-bike or scooter, because I'm not going to spend any time on it to speak of. It'll just get me to point A to point B, hopefully in a matter of a minute or two, and I'm off the darn thing. It's just a substitute, because I got along fine without one for 30 years, so I just got this weird situation now that beyond my control. I was kind of bummed out the other day, and I was talking to my respiratory therapist, how I felt. I can see Mount Rainier, when I wake up in the morning, and I hiked a lot, like you, Ron, around Mount Rainier, and never climbed it, but I got up pretty high. But those, or how about my kayaks? And, going into the, I guess I'll have to show you guys some kayak pictures again, the beaver dam and all that. Those, I'm scared to death to get in my kayak because, not that I won't have, it just depends. If it's windy, if the wind would just take me way far away, and how am I going to get back without, I just can't imagine. In the past it was no big deal, but now it is. The whole thing on this Oculus, here, I'll just show you what it looks like. Is very nice as well, so it has a nice surround sound to it. So Ron, what got me to think about getting that headset was at the car race we had a special camera inside our car, and I didn't realize what this camera was going to do until the next day when I went in the trailer, I saw someone with his headset on, and he said, "Can you see without your glasses?" So I go, "Yeah." And so I put it on. Next thing I know, I'm in our car, our race car. But the thing, and I was looking out the back window, but when I turn my whole body around, now I'm looking out the front window. And now I just look around and go, next thing I know, I started losing when I looked down at the floor and saw the foot pedals and everything. And this is lifelike. And I started going, oh, I just could feel myself falling. And I go, get this thing off my head quick, yeah. Then I did some research. Oh, and they came down quite a bit in price. Costco sells them for $369. You can get them a lot cheaper, but Costco's return policy is so good and kind of makes sense compared to the other places. They only give you like 10 or 15 days if it's on electronics, and Costco is a lot better than that. So I think Costco's even 3 months, or in some cases even a year. I've just been playing around. It's just, so, I can only, after spending, maybe 5 or 10 hours in space, okay, then I saw the T-38, the Northrop supersonic jet trainer that the astronauts learn to fly and master before they ever think about steering a spaceship. And so, next thing I know, I'm sitting in the back behind the pilot in my own cockpit, so to speak, with the yoke and all the wonderful, this instrumentation, Covington Jim, that I'm sure you're totally used to, but very cool looking to me. You felt like twisting some of the knobs and dials, even though you really couldn't, but it was so realistic. And then, then when we take off, and as we're, turning, you can feel your whole body, I swear to God, I almost felt the G-force. Obviously I didn't, but that is the sensation it gives you. It is just tremendous to be able to take off kind of in a probably California desert. Next thing you know, you're over the Sierra Nevadas, these beautiful white mountains. God, it was just incredible. So that was my experience with that. Actually, the twin-engine Cessna wasn't all that bad either. Now, I wasn't in the pilot seat, but I was right next to him, and of course, you have your own instruments, I guess, just like the pilot has, and the yoke and all that, or however you steer it, and God, it's just really so realistic. So I don't know where I'm going to go next. I've been looking at different parts of the world I'd like to, visit. And I mean, I don't know. Evidently there's a lot of programs. There's everything what's called immersive. That's what I've been kind of dealing with, the immersive stuff. And some of the stuff you want to sit down, but I'm telling you, the space station, you want to be standing up, because if you sit down, you can't possibly turn your head or neck. You hurt your neck. But if you're standing up, you can kind of, look around, and it's just, there you go. Well, if you have a swivel. Now, that's a good point, to get a swivel chair, because, there's, maybe I've been avoiding the roller coaster. Let me put it that. Roller coaster does not appeal to me with this sort of thing, even though they have one that looks very inviting. So anyway, as I get into a little bit more subject matter, I'll let you know. Underwater is pretty cool. a lot of these things, you feel like you're levitating or hovering. Obviously, whoever has the camera is holding it. It's a 360 camera, but he'll have it on a selfie on a big stick. And so he's holding it up, and so you can get that's why you get, I think, the feeling of levitating, is because you are, literally, because you're in this guy's, way up above this guy's head as he's touring around showing you things. Oh yeah, or how about one of the first ones I experienced was a wingsuit. A couple guys, you're in a helicopter and you have a wingsuit on, or or squirrel suit, if you will, and next thing you know, you're out, and you are, I know what it's like to fly now. I know what a bird or an eagle sees and what they experience. What was really bizarre was you're flying with another guy in a wingsuit, and doing acrobats with this other guy. But then at some point when you look down, you see your shadow and his shadow on the ground 1,000 feet below. If that isn't the weirdest thing, it just was freaky as heck. So I don't know. I just downloaded an app for Prime Video virtual reality because it doesn't cost anything if you're, a Prime Amazon member, and so I figure, well, what the heck, if it's free, I'll take it. There's a lot of free stuff, a lot of stuff to buy. I'm gonna use. I don't see buying anything at this point. K7ITX, back to net control.
Great. They're calling. Go ahead. We heard break, and we just heard you barely break the squelch there. Try reorienting your antenna, perhaps, and try again. Heard in there somewhere about moving an antenna. Let me see if I can maybe listen on the input side. Try one more time. We're just not an intelligible signal with full quieting from our location here. We are using 103.5 for a PL tone. That is the only time that we use it. 103.5 is for the two nets. So if you're using a different PL tone, maybe you should try 103.5. The other members of the net, if everybody could maybe listen on the input side of the repeater, and let's see if we can somehow pull you out. I was not able to get it on a video. Can anybody else get him? Richard, you can get him?
Yeah, if the guest could come back, I'll hit reverse and see if I can hit on the input, here on the input side as well.
Did you catch the name as Jeff? Is that what you got? I didn't catch a name. Jeff? We cannot pull you out, sir. I tell you what, I heard Jim said he heard you say handheld, and it's just not holding the repeater, and also there's just not enough signal strength or deviation so that we can get intelligible language. Also, someone else heard 7 Foxtrot Echo. I'll tell you what, try one more time. Maybe we can just pull you out this time. Walk near a window, get upstairs, do what you need to do. Let's try one more time.
India 7 Foxtrot Echo, AI7FE, and I'm in North, QTH is North Seattle. You copy?
Clear. Alpha India 7 Foxtrot Echo, is that correct?
Alpha India 7 Foxtrot Echo, correct.
And did you want to just check in, check out, or join the conversation?
I'm fascinated by the conversations about flight, and I wanted to relay a story that just happened to me that may be of interest to somebody. But I strongly recommend getting in an airplane. Yeah, over.
We heard strongly recommend getting into an airplane and then you dropped off, and we heard over.
Another time, but exhilarating, and you learn a tremendous amount. And hand radio skills will apply. Over.
And Foxtrot Echo, we heard exhilarating in that, so we'd like to hear what you have to say, but we are just not able to hold this repeater located, we're using an input tonight on Cougar Mountain. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll try to fire up the data and see if I can reach it that way. Over.
Foxtrot Echo, I heard something about trying to fire up and then you dropped again, so yes, go ahead and change rigs, change antennas. Get the bicycle pump out, do what you need to do. We enjoy having you here in the conversation. This is WW7N. Let's, Richard, were you finished?
Yes, I was. So, take it over, net control.
N7QO in Covington, and then we'll see, wrap around to Ron, and then see if AI7FE is back with us. Go ahead, Jim.
N7QO, thank you, Jim. Well, let's see. We were discussing about how astronauts could feel isolated up there. I have a solution. Fire up the ham radio rig. They've got, I know that they've got something up there. I saw it on the VR headset while I was doing that thing at the Tacoma Armory. I'm not sure, but I think all of the Americans went ahead and got a technician license before they went into space. Don't be so lonely out there, guys. And Dick, yeah, the T-38, yeah, that's like, I'm very familiar with them, like 1970s vintage, kind of old technology. They call it steam gauges, but that would be pretty cool. That would be a really good experience. Now that you mention it, my wife has a VR headset around somewhere. It's far less capable than the Oculus. Not even sure where she has it. It just got packed away somewhere because there wasn't a whole lot that she could use it on. But I'll have to see if she can do that. And talk about a wingsuit. I'll bet my wife would get a real kick out of that. And roller coaster, that's a fun way to get a ride without bothering killing yourself. Just this week I saw something on television about a roller coaster somewhere with a mounting bracket that was fractured, and it looked like the people on there were in peril, but they took it out of service and supposedly they're going to re-weld the thing. But yeah, that's cool. Do a VR ride on a roller coaster. Don't have to worry about anything except falling out of your chair. Or Of course, at our age, we could get hurt doing that too, I suppose. Oh well. Back to you, Jim, and 7QO.
This is WW7N. Let's try one time for Alpha India 7 Foxtrot Echo.
7FE, Alpha India 7 Foxtrot Echo. You copy?
What is your first name, and go ahead.
First name is Chuck, and Charlie Hotel Uniform Charlie Kilo. I was listening to the talk about aviation and flying, and I just wanted to tell a couple stories. For all of you on the net listening, I cannot too strongly suggest to learn to fly. Get your pilot's license, learn to fly. It is an absolute charge. And I've got several stories, but this is the latest story that I thought would maybe exemplify what can happen when you can fly. Recently in Zambia, Africa, and I was taking a flight out to a lodge from Lusaka, Zambia, which is a major city there. And they walked us out on the tarmac and past the Cessna caravans that were flying a lot of people, basically a 10-passenger Cessna. And they walked us out to a small Beechcraft. So I found a pilot, and I asked the pilot, I said, I happen to have a pilot's license too, could I sit in the co-pilot seat with you? He said, I'll tell you what, I'll take off and land, and you can fly the rest of the way to where we were going in this Beechcraft. And I did. He took off about 600 feet above the ground. He said, okay, fly this course, fly it up to 6,500 feet. And for about an hour, I flew us out into the bush in Zambia, Africa. Over.
In Zambia, Africa. Sounds fantastic. Go ahead, Chuck.
So there have been other experiences I've had over the years, in flying simulators. I one time got a chance to fly the simulator at Whidbey Island Naval Air Station, and that was, it's real, man. They can have you land on an aircraft carrier or fly up and get fuel and all of that on a simulator. So the opportunities that come your way when you can fly is just the excitement is and the stimulation is fantastic. A lot of your skills in ham radio with your radios and your ability to listen and copy are invaluable when you're flying as well. So with that, stand by for any comments, but just thought I'd share that with you. AI7FE on the side.
FE, this is WU7N. Thank you very much for sharing those experiences with us. Well, I was going to also say, Richard had commented earlier that the Oculus headset must be what people are in heaven looking down seeing. I guess we're all going to find out eventually and see what the resolution is. The other thing, my funny story, when I first started flight instruction many years ago, of course there's no particular reason why a pilot would need to know this, but a flight instructor was explaining to me the ADF, the Automatic Direction Finder, and said, well, this BFO, well, I don't know what that is, but we never use it. And I just said, well, write down on your notebook, I'll explain that. And I explained to him what a beat frequency oscillator was, which is significant, I guess, certainly if you're flying in Canada at that time and also some other places around the world. But in the United States, most of the AVFs, you didn't need a BFO, beat frequency oscillator, to get the CW identifier. And he asked me, how would I ever know that? And I said, well, I'm an amateur radio operator. And the other thing he said, I was identifying, I wasn't being careful enough on identifying the Morse code identifiers on radio aids to navigation. And I said, well, actually, I receive Morse code pretty quickly. And he goes, oh, seriously? And he started naming letters. I immediately came back to him what it would be. And he said, how do you know how to do that? How'd you do that? And I said, well, I started amateur radio, when I was, 13 years old or 12 or something is when I was licensed. And I, had to learn Morse code back then. there's always transferable skill sets, I think, in anything you put serious time, energy, and effort into. Also, Richard, your Costco return policy just can't be beat. They actually had to tighten up on that because of abuse, and it's still the most incredible one in the industry. I still just can't believe it. The only time I've been turned down, oddly, was a UPS that I hadn't owned that long died on me, and I tried to take it back, and for some reason they would not take it back. And I got the helpful suggestion of how to get around that, and I said, no, I don't do business that way. If they don't want it back, I will just accept that loss and move on. So anyway, well, let's see. It's 44 minutes after the hour here. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. We've had Ron, Richard, and Jim, and myself, and also Chuck has joined us now. Is there anyone else who'd like to join, either to check in or check out, or to join our conversation? If so, come now.
I'm going to check out and wish you guys a good afternoon, good evening.
Foxtrot Echo, we have your 73s. We hope you'll join us. If you ever get the notion or the time later, we start at 8 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesdays and Saturdays on the 08 machine. And as I said at the start of the net, there's many ways to watch the audio. And so we hope we'll hear from you again. Thank you so much. Let's go to the top. Ron, KD7QKU. Go ahead.
KD7QKU here. When I was in Eastern Washington, I had a friend that flew, and I flew with him a lot. It is awesome. Of course, in those days, it was a Taylor craft. I think it, was a tail dragger, and it was made out of, pipe and canvas, and I think it had a 60-horse motor, and you had to prop it, but we sure had a lot of fun with it. Then we set one behind the other, so didn't set side by side, but and no parachutes, of course. And you'd have to find a thermal to gain elevation, but it was once you got up a few thousand feet, you had fun. But over in Eastern Washington, it wasn't hard to find thermal, so. But we flew all over in it. Anyway, I guess that's it. If we want to close the net early, I'm fine with that. So I'll just send it back to you, Jim, KD7QKU.
QKU, this is James, WW7N. Okay, well, let's see what we want to do here. Each person can give their opinion. Don't want to end it too early. Get some great stories tonight. Richard, K7ITX, go ahead.
I wanted to comment on isolation on the ISS because I think I saw the astronaut you're referring to, and it started out in one of the programs where it's all dark, and I hear this voice talking very quietly, but I couldn't see where he was coming from. I was looking all around, hunting, and there he was in the dark, and he was lonesome. There were only two other astronauts, and he says, this is a big place now, and when there's just three of us, it's pretty easy for you to be by yourself for hours and hours upon, at a time, and you do get lonely. And well, the other weird part is it seems like they have the lights off quite a bit. I mean, they have the lights on when they're in a certain area, but the whole place is not lit up with lighting everywhere you look. So they, and that helps them go to sleep. I think because that's a big problem. There is no night or day or winter or summer or any of that stuff. It's just in fact that takes. I don't know if they ever really get used to that. That was fun. So there's three astronauts at that time. Joined all nine of them around this really tiny little dining table that I guess they're having a birthday celebration, and that was pretty cool. 9 of them, though. I mean, it's crazy how they operate that place. And so anyway, I beat that situation to death. Probably what I'm really excited to explore is, being on Mars, the surface of Mars. Especially now with this headset, I can finally look at the stereoscopic pictures that are out there, particularly associated with the ISS, NASA, and Mars. They have a lot of stuff in stereoscopic viewing, and I just never could get that. But now I just started scratching the surface before I came on the net, and the pictures, it's weird how they're stills. It's not immersive, so you're looking at kind of like a movie screen, but it's weird how the stuff just comes right out of the screen right at you. It is really, now I can see why NASA used it as much as they did. Quite often, especially on the Horizon and Juno and things like that. Quite lots of times I'd see the mission control people wearing 3D type goggles or something, and now I know why, because it's just the detail is just really awesome. So anyway, I agree. I'm kind of talked out myself, and so I'm ready to say 73 when everyone else is. K7ATS, back to net control.
N7CNA disconnected.
Let's see. Let's go to Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Jim. Well, yeah, Dick, thanks for that information. And let's see, what else do I have to say here? Chuck, if you're still there, thanks for your input as well. Yeah, most all of us are familiar, at least somewhat, with flying, some more so than others. But everyone is at least somewhat familiar with it, let's put it that way. Let's see. I'm okay to end early. Let's see here. What did I do today? Mostly some work around the house. I was a little bit more productive than usual because my wife was out much of today. So I'll go back and see if I won't ask her if she has anything for me to do, but I'll maybe get to spend a little more time with her anyway. So thanks everyone, and back to you, Jim, and 7QO.
This is WW7N. Thank you for that. And let's see, I did want to open it up one more time for any visitors. Chuck, thank you, AI7FE, for joining us tonight. Is there anyone else that would like to check in, check out, or say hello? If so, come now. Nothing heard. My name is James, WU7N. We're pretty close to the top of the hour here with about 8 more minutes. Let me call to see if anybody has anything for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Oh, wait. Let's go ahead and make that call. Anybody that has anything for the net before we close it up? There is one thing I thought I'd mention. You can look this up on the internet. It's a little piece of three-dimensional, or as they say, stereoscopic imagery history. In World War II, imagery analysis was really coming into its own, and they discovered that the stereoscopic camera could make things stand out. And there was a British imagery analyst, and she is the first one looking at some very routine overhead imagery pictures that saw the very first V1 in test, and was able to spot that. And then later, three-dimensional or stereoscopic, as it's I think still called, stereoscopic imagery also was able to show the V2's standing up on the pad from an angle. It really made them stand out. And when they were deployed by the Germans, they of course were mobile and highly camouflaged, and so that's how they would find them. So anyway, yes, I learned that, what odd things you learn when you take courses years ago in overhead imagery. Well, this is James, WW7N. I think we're pretty much here at the top of the hour. So I'd like to thank the owners and operators of this repeater for letting us use it 8 p.m. Wednesday and Saturdays as our audio channel. Washington Amateur Television Society does meet 8 p.m. as I said Wednesday, 8 p.m. Saturday. Anybody's willing to join, either join the conversation, check in or check out, or if you'd like to learn more about amateur television, then we certainly have a lot of different members with different interest groups. I'd like to thank Rich and everybody else who runs the repeater, as well as all the other ham radio operators who let us use this twice a week. We really do appreciate it. So my name is James, WU7N for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Good night.
This is KK7NCF. I was just doing a little radio check, hoping someone is still on after the net that might tell me what repeater I'm on.